Good morning. Welcome to week 7. Um, we're just going to go ahead and get right to it. So we are on May 11th through 15th. I'm going to click on that, and that should take us right to the lesson plan. Real simple this week, just because we are getting the end of the school year. As I had promised you guys, we were just going to really focus on the novel study. So actually, if you guys scroll down through the lesson plan, you will see that we do not have any Achieve 3000 this week. We do not have any MobyMax this week. And I actually even took out the Google Meet session just because I have a pretty full schedule for you guys already. And so we'll go back to that next week or so. All right, so if you look, since everything is kind of going the novel study, each day I kind of break it down what you need to do. Of course, if you want to go a little bit faster through this, that is your prerogative. But this is just a good way. This is how I would break it down if we were, let's say in the classroom or whatnot. Okay, so you guys have just finished 9, 10, and 11 last week. So it was kind of weird because normally I had you guys read Bryce's perspective and then Julie's perspective right after it. But that last chapter 11 was Bryce's perspective on the dinner. And I am sure you guys gathered from reading that last chapter that it was a pretty intense scene. So that chapter 11 that you guys read was a little awkward, very intense situation happening at Bryce's home after Julie's family leaves. So here, when you guys are looking at chapter 12, you guys are going to be learning from Julie's perspective how that dinner went, and a little bit of other information that we don't get from his perspective, okay? So tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this, I'm uploading this on a Sunday, but most of you guys are going to look at this Monday morning. So Monday, you guys are going to be reading chapter 12, which is Julie's perspective. Some of you guys have missing work from me. So if you guys have missing work, that is an assignment for you. This is only being sent to students who have missing work, so don't panic if you don't see it on your classroom. You won't see it if, for the most part, I have everything for you. Now, be careful because there are some of you where I don't necessarily have something missing, but I left you a note on Infinite Campus if I would like you to redo something or if something happened. So definitely check Infinite Campus today. I should have wrote that on there for an assignment, but definitely be checking Infinite Campus. Make sure everything's accurate. If I have you marked as something missing and you're like, hey, Mrs. Wolfert, I actually did this 2 weeks ago. At this point, if it was done 2 weeks ago, I should have it in the grade book. So let me look into it and see if maybe I've had a lot of kids input stuff in the wrong, quote unquote, inbox by clicking the wrong class period. I can usually find it if you just let me know that it's so this is a good time to catch those as well. So if you have missing work, you get to choose which assignment you do, but obviously I'd recommend the one that's worth the most points, okay? All right, and remember to read the directions on there because last Monday when we had missing Monday work, most students did not read the directions and it was very, very, very simple, very obvious on what I wanted you to do. I can really tell when students are reading the directions and when they're not, so please read the directions. Tuesday, I have you guys reading Bryce and Julie's perspective together, 13, 14. Those are the last chapters, okay? Is it going to bother me if you are like, hey, I want to get all my reading done on Monday so I can, use Tuesday to work on science, math, whatever. Doesn't bother me any. You get to go at your own pace. Just don't push yourself to get everything done in one day, okay? So chapter 13 is flipped from Bryce's perspective, and chapter 14 is the Basket Boys from Julie's perspective. So your goal is just to read that. I do believe I have that as an assignment, so when you are done, make sure that you let me know that you are done. That just kind of lets me know which students are logging in, which students are not. And that one, I can't really check to know if you've actually read it at that point. That's honor system. Okay, guys? I'll be able to tell by your grade on the comprehension check if you actually read. Okay, because really we should be getting 100% on those. Nothing on there is really as complex as I would have even made it in my classroom. All right, Wednesday, May 13th, you do have a comprehension check. I know that in this lesson plan, it is showing Edulastic. I changed my mind. I had that on Google Forms, but it is uploaded. So no, it's not on Edulastic. It is on Google Forms, and that's already uploaded. Thursday and Friday is when you're working on the final project, okay? And I'll show you exactly what that is here in a minute. So I know it says see intro video that you guys are watching right now. I'll be going into that here in a second. Okay, so that's really all you guys have to focus on for the week. We're doing that novel study. Here's the assignment for Missing Work Monday. Make sure that you read the directions. Okay, I have that scheduled for some students are just missing one assignment where sometimes I have some students who I have not heard from since March. This is where I have the assignment posted for the novel. You can see some students have already read the complete novel already. Instead of separating it, I have not only the novel on here, but I also have the audio version uploaded in the same spot as well. So you guys are pretty good with knowing where that kind of stuff is. All right, comprehension check. It is already uploaded again. I decided not to do Edulastic. It is just really, did you read or did you not read? Because it's the end of the novel, obviously I'm going to be asking you questions like theme, characterization. I'm going to be asking you questions about internal and external conflict. I don't care if you have your notes out in front of you. Just make sure that you've read the novel, because if you did not read the novel, I will know. Okay. I can tell based on your guys' answers. All right. There's no denying who is reading it and who is not reading it. All right. So let's talk about this final project. I'm going to go ahead and click on this to walk you through it. Everybody has their own copy of this. Okay. Basically, I know you guys can read this, but you're going to use the internet to locate 6 articles or books characters in Flipped might be interested in based on what you learned from the novel. This is your choice on what articles and books they are. You just have to be able to say, this is what happened in the novel, make me believe that they would get some value from these articles or get some value from this novel, okay? If you guys have something in mind already, maybe you need to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what was Mrs. Baker really into? What do we know about Mrs. Baker? What do we know about Mr. Baker? What do we know about Julie? Those kind of things. Start asking yourself, okay, what do we know about them? And if basically just kind of look at it like this. If you had to buy somebody a book or an article as a gift, you're obviously not going to just randomly choose something that you're interested in. You're going to find something that somebody else is interested in. And that's essentially what I'm asking you to do here. You are essentially, quote unquote, purchasing, but you're not actually purchasing it, an article or a book for these people that you think would be of value of them. Okay. Each character can only be used once, but I'm going to allow you to choose either Bryce twice or Julie twice. But Bryce and Julie have to be used at least one time because they are the main characters. Please time to read through the rubric. This is exactly how you can be graded. And note that I am putting 10 points in your writing. I kind of feel like just because a lot of students think that, the computer is like texting and they can be super informal. No, that is completely the opposite of what you should be doing. Never in a million years would I ever send an email to Mr. Brady super casually. Now I might personally text him a little bit more casually if I just had something funny to tell him. But if we are being professional, like you are supposed to be with me, you are turning in an assignment, you're not texting me, you have to actually show me that you understand what a complete sentence is and all that good stuff. Okay, so just remember, this is not a text message. This is an actual assignment, okay? All right, I give you an example of exactly what I want. I always, right? So you're going to have 6 of these. 6 of these are going to be blank. Well, I actually inserted Bryce Lowski for one and Juliana Baker for one, but they're essentially blank, okay? You are going to be filling that in. You're going to have the character name here. So I gave an example of Mrs. Baker, okay? And one of the things that I really remember a lot from the novel with Mrs. Baker is her issue with Champ, the dog. If you guys remember, Champ, she was very hesitant on Champ and she kind of had to slowly warm up, but they kept smelling this awful smell. And they realized that Champ was peeing on everything, okay? So because I know that Mrs. Baker was struggling with that, we found a title called 7 Reasons Your Dog is Peeing in the House. And all I did was, here, I copy and pasted the article. How you do that, let me see if I can move this screen up a little bit so you guys can see. All I would do is if this is the article I want, I would literally copy and paste that and throw that down. Now, obviously, this is not an article. Please don't do that. But it gives you the general idea of, I just want to copy and paste it so that I could click on this and actually read that article and know that you legitimately found something that has to do with Mrs. Baker. Now, we're not going to just randomly find Mrs. Baker a random thing. It has to be something that she actually would, seek value from. And because that is an issue that she was dealing with, I do truly believe, but I'm going to say my reasoning with evidence from the text. Okay. So Here we have in chapter 6, the reader learns that the baker's dog Champ was peeing in the house, and it upset Mrs. Baker, understandably. If she read this article, it might help her understand why Champ was doing it and figure out how to get him to stop. Because one of the things that maybe some of you guys know is that, when they found this dog, it looked like he was malnourished. He seemed a little skittish, which typically tells someone that maybe he was abused. And oftentimes, a dog that has been abused, they really struggle, or even humans. If the humans have been abused, sometimes they have issues with their with controlling, you know, where they pee and where they go to the bathroom and whatnot. So that article talks a little bit about that and what it could be some reasons. And maybe she would be a little less angry at Champ if she understood maybe a little bit more of what he might have experienced before living with them. All right. So again, in this article, it might help her understand why Champ was doing it and figure out how to get him to stop. And then, of course, I have my evidence. In the novel, it says, Mom was fuming. I told you it was him. The mystery smell comes from the mystery. And yes, I did swear right there, but it was only because it was actually part of the novel and it wasn't doing anything to hurt anybody else. Again, watch your language. If it is in a novel and it's not meant to hurt, we can quote, okay? So Van Dranen, I did notice that I was messing up on my textual evidence earlier last week when I was only writing Dranen. Technically, her last name is Van Dranen. That was a mistake on my end. So Van Dranen, chapter 6. Of course, I referenced that up here, but I just referenced it again. So if you look up here, it says the writing correctly includes capitalization. You'll see that I have Baker capitalized, the C in Champ capitalized. I have Van Dranen capitalized. I have my commas where I'm supposed to be having it, all that good stuff, my quotation marks where I'm supposed to be having it. If you can't find the exact quote and you want to paraphrase, but you can at least tell me what chapter it comes from, that is also fine. Don't feel like you have to have a direct quote. A paraphrase is totally fine if it's too much of a struggle for you to find the exact word where it happened. I just happen to know exactly where it was. It is written in complete sentences with a minimum of 3 to 4 sentences per reasoning. You'll see that this isn't insanely detailed, but was this enough for me to understand that if the student did this, that they had read that chapter and understood, what Mrs. Baker was going through? Yes. Okay. It has to be something that referenced back to the text. Okay. I give you a lot of flexibility in there. We know a whole lot about Julie. We know a whole lot about Bryce. I know someone's going to ask me, what if I, want to talk about Bryce in the beginning of the book versus the end of the book? That's fine. You could even mention that in your reasoning, in the beginning of the novel, blah, 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 blah. Or at the end of the novel, we saw Bryce, blah, 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 blah. Just kind of give me a general heads up of ish where in the novel you're at. Your textual evidence will guide me into knowing where ish you are getting that information from, okay? All right, guys, so hopefully that was a good enough example of what you're doing. There are 6 of them, so do not think that you can just do 3 of them and that's okay. There are 6 of them, different characters. I give you a couple ideas on some characters real quick. We have, you could do the brothers if you wanted. We learn a lot actually about not Mr. Baker. Well, we know a little bit about him, but in that last chapter that you guys read, I'm sure you learned a whole lot about Bryce's dad. So you can do their parents, you can do Shelley Stalls, you can do really anybody from school. You can do grandpa. I ideally choose someone that you know the most about. Okay. All right, kids. If you guys have any questions, I will put some open call hours in. I just noticed that I don't have those in there yet, but I will put some open call in there earlier in the week, just in case you guys have any questions or want to run something past me. I hope you are all doing well. I will talk to you soon.